All right, you've probably found this video today because you're trying to decide which prepaid carrier is right for me. What I want to do in this video today is I want to help you to decide which prepaid carrier might be the best one in your particular situation. Now, people choose to go the prepaid route for a lot of different reasons, but I guess the main reason is to save money. Whenever you go the prepaid route, you can avoid the contract, you can avoid the time that you have to spend with a certain carrier. And if your situation changes, you can change your carrier very easily if you want to switch between these prepaid carriers. So it's just a good way for you to be able to save some money. So it's what I want to do before I get into the rest of the thing I'm going to talk about today. Is I just went to my local Walmart today and I took just a few pictures just to give you an idea of some of the prepaid services and some of the phones that they carry there. Okay, first thing I want to talk about is we need to realize that there are four major cell phone carriers in America today. Now, I know there's other smaller carriers in America today that own their own networks, but these are the four major ones that we have today. AT&T and T-Mobile, those are on the GSM side. Then we have Sprint and Verizon over on the CDMA side. Now, what you need to understand is that these prepaid carriers piggyback off of one of the four major carriers. So each prepaid carrier uses one of the major carriers. For example, Boost Mobile is using the Sprint network. So here's what happens. Every one of these major carriers, they have a certain amount of space within their network every single month. And with their regular contract customers, they are never able to fill that to capacity. They're never able to use all of those minutes that they have. So it's what they do is they take that space that's wasted, those wasted minutes, they bundle them up, and then they wholesale those to these prepaid services. So Sprint has all this wasted space. They take that wasted space, they wholesale those minutes to Boost, then Boost repackages those minutes and they sell them to you as one of their plans. So when you are using a Boost phone, when you're speaking on Boost, you are actually using the Sprint network. So you have basically just as good as anybody else does that's on Sprint. Now, one thing is a lot of these prepaid services don't allow roaming like you would if you were on Sprint contract. But and that's one of those things you're going to have to look into each one of these prepaid services because some allow roaming, some of them don't. Okay, the other thing that I want to talk about real quick is that you need to check the coverage in your area. When I say check the coverage in your area, I mean you need to go to one of the four major carriers' prepaid coverage map. Go to AT&T's prepaid coverage map, go to T-Mobile's prepaid coverage map, go to Sprint's prepaid coverage map, or go to Verizon's prepaid coverage map. And from those maps, you need to determine whether that major carrier has good service in your area or not. Now, a lot of times when you go to the prepaid carriers, like if you go to Boost, Boost may have their own coverage map, but I suggest that you use the major carrier's prepaid coverage map. And the reason for that is because a lot of these prepaid, when you go to the prepaid websites, a lot of time their coverage map is a very generic coverage map. In fact, some of them only give you their coverage map on a national level. I mean, they just show the United States. And I mean, you really cannot get an idea at all about the coverage in your particular area by looking at a national coverage map. It's just not going to work. But if you go to the major carrier that your particular prepaid is piggybacking off of, then when you look at their map, you can zoom in and you can even zoom down to your neighborhood level. Now, one word of caution on those coverage maps is they're not exact. They're approximation. And if you're looking at a coverage map and you're right on the boundary where there's two different colors, you need to always assume that you're on the on the worst side of that coverage. Okay, and I know that from personal experience. Always assume you're on the worst side of that, because if you think, oh well, I'm right there inside of the better color, don't do that, because you're going to get yourself in a bad situation. Assume you're on the worst side of that. Okay, now so what I want to do is I want to go through each of the major carriers and just give you a basic idea of some of the prepaid carriers that use that as their network. Okay, so AT&T uses. Here's just a list of some of these. The AT&T Go phone. Now that's AT&T's own prepaid service. And one thing I want to say about that is, most of the time, if you use the prepaid service that comes directly from the major carrier, usually you don't get as good of a deal. Most of the time, if you're trying to go prepaid, your best bet usually is to go with these other prepaid carrier services. Just as an example of that, I know Verizon's own prepaid service, you get unlimited talk, unlimited text, and I think 1 gigabyte of data for, I believe it's $80. but you can go to Page Plus, and we'll get to that in a second. And on Page Plus, you can get unlimited talk, unlimited text, and you can get 5 gigabytes of data for $70. So most of the time, you don't want the prepaid that comes directly from that major carrier. Now, there may be some reasons why some people do, and I'm not trying to run that down. But I'm just saying, most of the time, you'll get a better deal if you don't go with their own prepaid service. So under the heading of AT&T, there's the Go Phone. There's also Pure Unlimited. There's Red Pocket. And like I said, these are just a few of them. There's a lot more that use the AT&T network. Now, is what you need to do, as I said before, is you need to go into those coverage maps and determine which one is best for you. Is AT&T best for me? Is T-Mobile best for me? Is Sprint best for me? Or is Verizon best for me? And then once you make that decision, then you can start narrowing down which prepaid service you want. So if you looked at the coverage map and you decided, you know what, AT&T really has the best coverage in my area and in the area that I'm going to be spending most of my time, then you need to decide, okay, under this heading of AT&T, which prepaid service am I going to use, because that has the best coverage in my area. Okay, next, T-Mobile. Solavei is a prepaid service that uses T-Mobile. Simple Mobile is another one, and then if you've ever seen Walmart Family Mobile, that uses the T-Mobile network for that one. Okay, next one. Under Sprint, we've already talked about Boost. Boost uses Sprint. Virgin Mobile uses Sprint. And Republic Wireless uses Sprint. Now, Sprint's a good company, and I'm not trying to run them down, but be careful with Sprint, because their coverage doesn't go very far past major highways. I mean, there's maybe some areas where they kind of branch out, and I have personal experience with this. I've used Boost and Virgin Mobile personally. I live within 2 miles of an interstate, and I would get decent coverage, and where I work is within 3 or 4 miles of the interstate. All of that was fine, but if I ever got 10 miles from the interstate, then my Sprint coverage was either terrible or non-existent. So be careful if you're using those. I mean, if you live in a major city or if you live close to an interstate and spend all your time there, then that'll be good, but just be careful about that. So then that brings us to Verizon, which a lot of people don't like Verizon, and I don't particularly like Verizon either. I was on them on contract, and I got out of that because I didn't think they were treating me right. But even though I don't like Verizon, they really do have a very good network, and so a lot of people want to use Verizon, and they want to use Verizon network but not have to get on contract. So here's some options if you want Verizon. I talked about this a second ago. Page Plus is a very good Verizon prepaid service. I've used it personally. I don't use it right now, but my wife is still using it. We really do like Page Plus. They're an American company. If you call in customer service to Page Plus, you're going to call in, talk to people in Ohio. You're going to get good customer service as you deal with them. There's also another company that's fairly new. It's called Talk for Good. Also threw this one in here. There's a company called Millennicom, and they're a data-only company. You can't buy a cell phone service. I mean, where you get minutes and text. They're a data-only company. But if you're wanting to get some kind of prepaid data service from Verizon, Millennicom is a pretty good service, and you can get. Um, I'm trying to remember. I think it's 20 gigabytes for $60 or $70. So way better than if you're using Verizon's prepaid data only package. That would definitely be the way to go on that. So that brings me to the last one, and that's Straight Talk or Net 10 or even just Tracfone. But specifically Straight Talk and Net 10, these are the two that you really see when you go into Walmart. And the thing about Straight Talk and Net 10 is they use all four of the major carriers. So when you go into Walmart and you choose a particular phone there, depending on the phone you buy, is going to determine what network you're on. I'm probably going to stop here for just a second, and I'll give you some examples and kind of show you what particular phones are on what network and a way for you to look at it and determine what's where. Okay, another thing that you can do with Straight Talk or Net 10 is you can order a SIM for either AT&T or you can order a SIM for T-Mobile. Now, you have to order these through Walmart. Well, you can order the T-Mobile directly from Straight Talk's website or Net 10's website, but they've kind of got it messed up right now. But if you want a AT&T SIM, you have to order that directly from Walmart. But it's what you do is you buy that SIM card from them, and you can just put that SIM in any phone that you have, and you can use that network. Like if you buy an AT&T SIM, if you have any AT&T phone, you can just slide that SIM into your AT&T phone, and then you can use Straight Talk's service on AT&T or T-Mobile, depending on which SIM you get. And that's actually what I'm using right now. I've got a Galaxy Note that I'm running on Straight Talk, or actually I'm doing it through Net 10 now on their AT&T side of it. And I'll probably stop and just show you quickly what I'm talking about there. I hope that as I've gone through through these different prepaid carriers, I hope that now you understand that each one of these prepaid carriers piggyback off of the major carriers, and so you need to determine which major carrier is the best for you. Then as you determine the best major carrier, then from there you can determine what group of prepaid services you're going to try to select from. And then from that, as you research online, you can determine which one will be the best for you. Now, where I've learned a lot about all these prepaid carriers is through Howard forums. And I suggest if you really are wanting to know which one's the best for you, go to howardforums.com, go over there. They have a whole section just based on prepaid. And if it has helped you, please like this, subscribe to me. If you have any questions, just throw them down in the comments. Thanks.